Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, welcome to See Mindy Mom. I'm Mindy and welcome to my kitchen. In this video, I'm going to share with you how I took one night's dinner entree and actually turned it into 4 nights worth of meals for my family, so stay tuned. Full disclosure, I'm actually getting ready to start editing this video pretty soon, and I realized that I never shot an intro for it. I filmed all the meals and I talked with you guys throughout the week about what I was making for my family, and I kept thinking, oh, I'll film an intro and I'll explain what I'm doing, and I guess I just never did because I'm about to start editing and there's no intro for it. So here's the idea behind this what's for dinner video. I took a pork roast that I had prepped for the freezer in a previous video, and I cooked that and I served that to my family one night for dinner with some sides. I used the leftover meat over the course of the next several days to create some more meals for my family that came together very quickly. So it's kind of like a cook once, eat twice, or thrice, or 4 times-ish video. And I'm just showing you how I took that shredded meat and I turned it into lots of different dishes for my family. So I kind of cut a corner on that second and third and fourth night by already having some of the dinner prepared. Now, I think these recipes would work with shredded beef or shredded chicken if you wanted to substitute that. I'm just trying to give you some ideas for how I am making weeknights a little bit easier for us where meal planning is concerned, and sometimes doing the bulk of the cooking up front without actually prepping the entire meal can really help create some delicious recipes for my family throughout the week. So let's jump into the video and I'll show you what we have for dinner. Tonight is the first night that we are eating the pulled pork, and I made the pulled pork in the crock pot, and I have just taken the bone out and trimmed the fat and shredded it all up. It cooked up beautifully. We're going to have that with some roasted squash, zucchini, and carrots. I also have some beer bread in the oven, and I'm going to try making up some risotto with this Lotto, or is it Loto? Loto or Lotto rice. I got this in my Imperfect box, and supposedly it is similar to arborio rice, which is what you use to make risotto. I'm gonna try it and see what I can do with that. Okay, so I am making the risotto, and risotto isn't really hard, and it's not even really labor intensive. It's just needy. It just needs you to stand over the pot and stir it. I am making this exactly the way I would make normal risotto with arborio rice. I sauteed some onions and garlic and a little bit of butter, and then I added 1 cup of the rice to the pot and let it brown a little bit. Then I added some salt and pepper and garlic powder, and now I am ladling in just a little bit at a time some chicken broth that I have simmering on the stove here next to the pot. So you ladle the chicken broth in just a little bit at a time. You stir it around, and once the rice has absorbed that, you add a little bit more until it's completely done cooking, until it's absorbed as much as it can. So supposedly this is similar to arborio rice or risotto, but it stays al dente, so I don't know, we'll see. But once it's done cooking, I'm just gonna toss in some shredded mozzarella. I'm gonna stir that in with the risotto, and that's it, and then we'll be ready to eat. Here is dinner tonight. I just have my roasted veggies here, and then some of the risotto that I made, one piece cut in half of the beer bread with a little butter, and then my pulled pork right here. Yummy. Okay, I just tried some of that risotto with the rice that came in my Imperfect box, and it is really, really good. Highly recommend. Tonight I am making some pulled pork enchiladas, or I guess they are maybe burritos because I'm using flour tortillas instead of corn tortillas. I feel like enchiladas you should use corn tortillas, but my kids are not huge fans of corn tortillas, so we're going with flour tortillas. I couldn't really find exactly a recipe that I was looking for, so I'm just kind of taking several different ideas that I came across and, you know, making up the one that I want. So to make the filling, I started by sauteing some onions and garlic, because if I'm not starting a recipe by sauteing onions and garlic, am I really even cooking? I don't know. And then I added probably about 2 cups of my leftover pulled pork. I didn't really measure it. I just kind of put in the amount that I wanted to use from my leftovers. And then I added about 1 cup of frozen corn and a can of tomatoes. On top of that, I placed half of a block of 1/3 less fat cream cheese, and I heated that up so that the cream cheese could melt and I could combine it all together to make the filling. To make a sauce to go on top, I wanted a green chili enchilada sauce. They only had this big can. They didn't have any small cans, and this is 28 ounces. So when I put this into my pot on the stove, I thought that looks like a lot. Probably only using about 2/3 of this can, and then I added about half a cup of heavy cream. Half and half I'm sure would work. I just happened to have some heavy cream in the refrigerator, which was left over actually from Christmas, but I ended up not using it, and then last week I used it to make some homemade whipped cream for my husband for his birthday for a dessert that we made for for him. So I had that in the refrigerator, needed to use it. So I added it to that. So now I'm getting ready to put the enchiladas together. So I'll show you what I'm doing. So I put a little bit of my sauce in the bottom of the pan here. And then I have a bunch of tortillas that I'm filling. I actually had bigger tortillas to use for this. And then I realized as I was cleaning out my pantry the other day that I had quite a few tortillas already open. So these are going to be a little bit smaller than I would probably like, but that's okay. I want to use up these tortillas. So I'm just going to fill as many of them as I can and place them here into the pan. And then I am going to pour the rest of the sauce over the top of it. And I will top that with some shredded Monterey Jack cheese, which I have right here. And I will put it into the oven at 350 for probably about 20 to 25 minutes until they're heated through. Here is dinner tonight. I have some of my enchiladas. They turned out great, or burritos, I guess. And then I have some refried beans, and I always put a little bit of sour cream or plain Greek yogurt in my refried beans. I pretty much replaced sour cream with plain Greek yogurt in this household, but you could use sour cream if you wanted. And I have just a little bit of cheese on top of that, and then some broccoli with just a sprinkling of Parmesan, and I will probably have a few tortilla chips as well with this, but that's dinner tonight. It turned out great. On this night, I made a barbecue pulled pork pizza, and it turned out absolutely fabulous. I did make my pizza crust. I use a dough recipe from My Busy Kitchen. It's sort of a take on the 2-ingredient pizza dough, but she adds water and yeast to help it, rise like a regular pizza crust. So I will leave that linked in the description box below, but you could use whatever pizza crust recipe you want to use, or you could buy a store-bought crust, or the kind that come in a can, like where the biscuits are, that you can spread out across the pan. But this is the recipe that I'm using. I have also used my bread maker on the dough setting to do all the work, mixing and kneading it for me, and then just rolled it out whenever I'm ready. But you'll just need a pizza crust if you want to make it from scratch or purchase it. That's up to you. I am also par cooking this. I bake it partially a little bit. So I've rolled it out and put it onto some parchment, and then put that onto a cookie sheet, and I'm going to bake that at 425 for about 5 to 7 minutes. I just want the pizza crust to get a head start. Otherwise, the toppings cook faster than the crust does, and I end up with either burnt toppings or a doughy pizza crust. So once my pizza crust has cooked just a little bit, it's out of the oven. I baked it for about 5 to 7 minutes, like I said, and I am just spreading some barbecue sauce over the top of that instead of pizza sauce. And then I am sprinkling a little bit of red onion. I like to put my toppings underneath the cheese for the most part, and also my kids think they don't like red onion, but they do like it. They just need to not be able to see it when they eat it. So I sprinkled some red onion and just a little bit of my cheese, which is a Monterey Jack and a Colby Jack mixture. And then I am topping that with some of my pulled pork. I probably used about, 1.5 to 2 cups of my pulled pork, probably just 1 to 1.5 cups of pulled pork, and spread that evenly over the top of the pizza. And I also put just a little bit of pineapple. I know that sounds crazy, but trust me, it works. And then I sprinkled the rest of my cheese over the top of it. I probably used about 2 cups of cheese total, with most of it being on the top of the pizza, over the top of the toppings. I popped that into a 425 degree oven until it was cooked through. Probably about 12 minutes, I think, is how long it took, and the crust was finished baking and the toppings were reheated, and this turned out great. It was really delicious. My husband actually cooked it in the oven for me, so I came home to some nice warm pizza, and I just chopped up some carrots and cucumbers and had a side of ranch with this, so it was truly like a finger foods night. We didn't even have to break out the utensils for this. I just took the easy route with the fresh veggies and the ranch dipping sauce, but this was really, really great. I drizzled a little barbecue sauce over the top of mine, and it was delicious. When I decided to do this video, I knew that I wanted to do some kind of pasta dish, but as I was looking around Pinterest, I just wasn't finding what I really wanted. So I've decided to just kind of make one up based on some ideas that I was seeing. So on the stove right now, simmering behind me, I started with some of my pulled pork. I put that into my pan to warm up, and I added some diced onion and some minced garlic. I did not start with any butter or olive oil because I knew that the meat would render a little bit of fat as it was warming up, and I thought that that would be sufficient to saute the veggies in. I also chopped up an orange and a red bell pepper. I just sliced it really thin, and I threw that in as well. So those are sauteing on the stove now. I'm going to try to create kind of like a cream sauce to go along with it. And I'm going to use this. It's like a spinach dip packet mix seasoning thing. So I will add this along with 1 cup of half and half, which I have in the refrigerator, to my pan. And I'm also going to stir in about 1/2 cup to 3/4 of a cup of plain Greek yogurt and probably about 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it and see what it looks like. And I'm hoping that that is going to turn into a yummy sauce for my pasta. Now for my pasta, I'm trying something different tonight. I think any kind of pasta would work for this, like if you wanted to just do spaghetti or penne or rotini or something like that, or even shells. But I really wanted to try this. I think it's called pappardelle. It's basically like an egg noodle that's kind of long. They're like little nests. But I'm just gonna cook these to al dente according to the package direction. And then I will just drop those directly into the sauce and, you know, mix it all together. And we'll see what we come up with. Like I said, I'm totally flying by the seat of my pants right now. So fingers crossed that it turns into a delicious, yummy dinner. Jumping back on here really quickly to say that I underestimated the amount of liquid this would need. So I added probably about 1/2 cup to 3/4 of a cup of this starchy pasta water that my pasta had cooked in. Chicken broth or, you know, some kind of broth would probably work just fine too. Or maybe, you know, some milk as opposed to like adding more half and half. I just realized that it needed just a little bit more liquid, so that's what I did because I had the pasta boiling on the pot next to me, and so I just added a few ladles of that pasta water to help kind of thin out the sauce just a little bit. Okay, this turned out way better than even I thought it would. I just tried a bite of this and I think it is absolutely delicious. So simple. I didn't even add any salt and pepper to it. It's just the ingredients that I mentioned, plus adding a little bit of the starchy pasta water to kind of thin out the sauce. Oh man, this turned out great and I cannot wait to dig in. I would have liked to make some veggies to go on the side, but I'm getting a late start on dinner tonight, so everybody's really hungry, so we're just gonna go ahead and eat this. And of course it has the peppers in it, but I would love to have like some green beans or some broccoli or some like roasted Brussels sprouts on the side of this. But this is really, really good. And the pork just adds so much flavor to it. This turned out great. I'm super pleased. All right, you guys, that is what I have for you today. I hope it gives you some ideas. And confession, I actually still have a lot of that pulled pork left, like enough to make at least 1 more meal, maybe 2 more meals out of it. So I'm going to actually put that in the freezer and it will come in handy in a couple of weeks whenever I'm maybe doing a pantry or freezer clean out, and I'll have something already prepped that I can throw into a dish really quickly and make a meal for my family. So not only did it stretch for 4 nights of meals, it's gonna make at least 1 or 2 more for us. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be sure to check in with another video very soon. Bye.